Former President Obama is on book tour. He stopped by his laundry machine, The Atlantic, in order to give an interview with Jeffrey Goldberg, the same man who printed many hours of his interviews whenever he was president of the United States. Characteristically unself-reflective. And, I mean, you and I were both going over this. It's incredibly long. If you like ponderous, lack of reflection, it's good for you. But my favorite part of it is what you and I both pointed to about where he talks about how everyone expected him to be Lyndon Johnson. And he was like, well, Johnson had the votes and FDR had the votes. And the fact of the matter is, I didn't have the votes.
I have the quote here if you want it. I would remind people that Lyndon Johnson got stuff done because he had the votes. Simple. FDR got stuff done when he had the votes. And the truth of the matter is that most of the time, what we think of as arm twisting and browbeating, what it really comes down to most of the time is, do you have the votes?
That's just not true. And this is what drives me. That is literally just not true. I mean, because Lyndon Johnson in 1964 had the same Senate that Jack Kennedy did, and Jack Kennedy had nothing done in the 3 years that he was president. So proof positive that it's not true. And again, this entire interview about polarization, about Trump's rise to power, about his own administration, absolve himself of everything. He's like, well, the composition of the Senate just was what it was, so it couldn't get anything done. Many presidents faced very different compositions of the Senate, and they got a lot done. But whenever he talks about partisanship, he's like, well, it's all Fox News' fault that the Republicans, went this way. That's part of it. But you are a huge player within this. I said this earlier in the show. The one thing I believe that transcends political ideology is good policy. And that by absolving and by working toward fixing some of the core problems that are driving people's unrest and dissatisfaction with the country is the best possible way that we can do this. He does not look towards that at all. He blames obstructionism. And of course, obstruction was a central part of the Obama presidency. But it absolves him of playing politics. And same with the polarization. He's like, it just happened as a result because of my identity. I'm like, oh, well, maybe it had way more to do, in my view, with the way that you handled the 2008 financial crisis. Zero reflection on that whatsoever.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, it's like the memoir should be called No, We Couldn't, or No, We Can't, because it's basically
why we were elected to and couldn't.
What we've gotten so far, at least, is a sort of recitation of why he wasn't able to ultimately deliver on the widespread change that the country really needed at that point, needed a shift from the previous era, needed bigger solutions in terms of the financial crisis, in terms of stimulus, in terms of healthcare, why it was unable to deliver. There was another quote here. We can throw this Jeffrey Goldberg tweet up on the screen. He's talking about the Trump era. He says, I didn't believe how easily the Republican establishment, people who had been in Washington for a long time and had professed a belief in certain institutional values and norms, would just cave. And it's just like, how did you miss the entire 8 years of your presidency? In a lot of ways, this is Joe Biden still holding on to this idea that, we're going to come together in bipartisan comedy and we're going to work together in good faith, et cetera, et cetera. Like, did you not live through those 8 years of, on day one, McConnell decided, I am not going to let you have anything. All we're going to do is try to stand in your way. Like, that's going to be our whole strategy. The strategy was pretty successful in terms of the backlash that it helped to create, and he has plenty of blame, certainly, in that outcome as well. But it seems like he can't let go of this outdated, hokey view of the opposition, and it's infected definitely. I mean, Biden has this mentality all the way through, and it will dramatically impact what he's able to get done ultimately in office. On the LBJ, FDR point. And he said these things before. He talks about the filibuster was a real problem. Well, the ability to get rid of the filibuster was there.
Harry Reid would have done it. If you had asked Harry Reid to do it, he would have done it. He did it on judicial nominees, did it on so much more. It was like, you're the one who decided not to do it.
Right. So to just be like, it was out of my hands. I didn't have the votes. Nothing I could do is just, to me, it's really, really absurd. And it's just literally not true that was the case. There were other actions you could take. You decided not to take them, and maybe out of a good place of I think this would be detrimental to democracy, but don't pretend like you didn't have other options there.
Exactly. I just read a part about China and trade. He's like, I accept the framing on trade, but I had this financial crisis. I just couldn't do it. That's what he does in everything is why I couldn't do it. You had 7 more years. There was a long time after 2010, there was a 6-year period that he could have done something by his own, or unless we were to believe, his rhetoric by 2012 was like we were out of it, and that's when he wanted to sell more jobs to China or through Asia with TPP and with so much more. Nothing. There's no reflection here on any of his own part within this. I saw this also in this clip where he's talking about, again, no reflection on his own policies, on journalists, on foreign intervention abroad. I mean, just look at how he talks about the current moment as if he himself didn't behave this way. Let's take a listen.
There's been this sense over the last several years that literally anything goes and is justified in order to get power. That's not unique to the United States. There are strongmen and dictators around the world who think that I can do anything to stay in power. I can kill people. I can throw them in jail. I can run phony elections. I can suppress journalists. But that's not who we're supposed to be.
I can just see Glenn Greenwald freaking out, right? I mean, who is the president who prosecuted and, went after journalists more than Barack Obama? It was Obama. I mean, who was the president who, drone striked an American citizen? The very first president to ever do such the extrajudicial killing of an American citizen. It was Barack Obama. And once again, whether you want to debate that or not, I think that's fine. But to have that moral outrage at, what we see right now, as if you were not complicit in setting the conditions for this, is just so outrageous to me. That's the whole crux of this interview.
Yeah, I think that's right. There's continues to be a caricaturish view of the electorate. And this comes out most certainly when you're talking about Trump voters. But there's this line here, this section that really stood out to me, where he's explaining why some black voters decided to back Donald Trump this time around. And he says, it's interesting, people are writing about the fact Trump increases support among black men and the occasional rapper who supported Trump. I have to remind myself that if you listen to rap music, it's all about the bling, the women, the money. A lot of rap videos are using the same measures of what it means to be successful as Donald Trump is. Everything is gold-plated. That insinuates itself and seeps into the culture. So again, there's no, look, maybe some of that is true, but it's all an attempt to put onto rap music the fact that black voters backed, that some black voters, some small increment, frankly, moved to vote for Donald Trump. That's bizarre way to think about it.
Maybe go ask the black voters themselves, and you would actually see that it was upwardly mobile blacks who felt that they had done better off in the economy who voted for Trump. Maybe that had something to do with it.
It wasn't like they watched a rap music video.
Yeah. What was his name? Lil Pump? I don't think, maybe it was less Lil Pump and more, their actual material conditions of their lives. But hey, who am I to know?
Never know. Tomorrow in Rising, friends of the show, Ryan Grimm and Kyle Kalinske are going to join us. Plus, Democratic strategist Jennifer Holdsworth and Senior Director of Policy at the Conservative Partnership Institute, Rachel Bovard, are going to be here for Team Rising.
That's right. And remember to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our videos. Don't forget to like and share as well. And we will see you all tomorrow.
Have a great day, everybody.